question is that this House do now adjourn. David Johnston.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, and it's a pleasure to have secured my first adjournment debate. Now, as some members of the House will know already, one major transport request I have is for Grove Station to be reopened, which is one of the stations that was cut in the Beeching cuts. My constituents have wanted it reopened for over 40 years now. It will better connect the people of Grove, where a lot more housing is due to go. It will get people off the roads I'm about to talk about. And of course, it will improve our environment as well. I've got my bid into the Restoring Our Railways Fund and everything crossed for hopeful news at some point in the future. But it is not my constituency's only transport challenge. And in fact, we have two issues on two roads which add up to one big problem for the people in my constituency. And what I will talk about is partly the responsibility of government, partly of Highways England, and partly of the councils, both county and district. Beginning with the A420. Now, the A420 has two sections, and I make no apology for being most concerned with the section that goes through my constituency, from down near Shrivenham and Watchfield, up through the Cotswolds, round Farringdon and across Littleworth, Buckland, Kingston, Bagpuws, and up through Firefield and Tubney, which I will come back to in a moment. This road is known locally, and has been for a couple of decades now, as a road to hell, or Hell's Drive. And the fundamental problem is that it's very unsafe. Now, it's supposed to be a local road going through a predominantly rural area, but it's used for commercial traffic between Oxford and Swindon, and a lot of HGV lorries, which I will come back to. It's used as a shortcut between the M4 and the M40. And all of this adds up to too much traffic, and too much traffic of the wrong kind, traffic that's too heavy for what was built as a local road. Now, to put the safety issues in context, because that traffic adds up to a lot of accidents, we've had 12 fatal accidents in the past 3 years to 2019, compared to 5 fatal accidents in the 3 years before that. So the problem has been getting worse. And overall, there have been 1,057 accidents in the past 6 years, which averages at nearly one accident every other day in that 6-year period. Now, the important thing about that statistic, Madam Deputy Speaker, is those figures are only for accidents reported to the police because someone has been injured. They don't account for all the other accidents we know happen that simply involve vehicle damage. And with that, I think that figure would be a lot higher. Now, those safety issues are, of course, predominantly for the vehicles that are on the roads, but they're also an issue for cyclists and for those on foot, because, again, to stress, this is supposed to be a local road, and all the way along this road, people live near it, and they need to be able to cross it. Now, one very good example of the problem is when you get to the Firefield and Tubney villages, and the A420 goes through them, Firefield on one side and Tubney on the other. Now, in order to do anything other than simply stay in your house all day, every day, you need to be able to cross this road. And the numbers may be small, but it's 100% of the community there. And what I hope brings home to the House how extraordinary the situation is with this road is that because it's so difficult to cross, because of the amount of traffic, the speeding that's going on, the HGV lorries that are going down it all day long from morning till night, is that constituents are known to get a bus down the A420 to cross at one of the few crossings and then get the bus back because they can't make a simple journey straight across that road. So when it comes, I mean, none of our constituents should have to live like that, by the way. And when it comes to the A420, we've got to make this, again, a local road that's suitable for the people who live in that community. And that means a number of things. It means a proper bus service with safe stops along the route, as well as safe pathways for those who are on foot or on their bikes. We need traffic light crossings and pedestrian crossings along this route. It's really quite a long route. We need better signage, which diverts these HGV lorries that shouldn't really be on this road anyway, away from them, and reduces the speed on there, and importantly, that will have to be enforced. And this, of course, should be a responsibility for Oxfordshire County Council, but they say they don't have the money to be able to make these improvements, even though they recognise that they are needed. And therefore, what I'd like the Minister to respond to is how we might remedy that situation, because it's gone on for far too long, and my constituents should not have to deal with it. Turning to the A34. Now, again, the A34 is in two sections, and again, no apologies. I'm most concerned with the section that goes through my constituency, which in this case starts in the south and goes past Chiltern and Harwell and Didcot and Steventon and Drayton as it heads north. And I know the A34 is a road that many members of this House have some experience of. On this road, in the last 6 years, we have had 50 fatal crashes. And overall, in that 6-year period, we've had 2,593 crashes, which is more than one every single day. And again, these are only the figures for crashes which involve people being injured. They're not the figures for just damage to cars. I was told on Thursday that I had this adjournment debate. There was a crash on the A34 on the Tuesday beforehand. There was a crash on the A34 on the Friday, the day after. And I'm just there talking about the section which is in Oxfordshire. Now, when it comes to the A34, the problem is much, better documented. And Highways England have recommended a number of safety improvements. And really what I'm asking for here from the Minister, because some of those improvements have been made, is when we can expect the other improvements. Because again, this is a road that my constituents try to avoid because of these safety issues. And I should just say it's a separate question to the question of improving connectivity across the region, because the safety issues have been going on for some time. There is then a separate question about how you improve connections for people going across. And then we come to litter. Now, I have had complaints about litter on both these roads. Yes, I happily give way. I think the Honourable Gentleman has made a very important point, and I thank him for that contribution, because we have all sorts of issues exactly as he describes in Didcot and Wallingford regarding those roads and it being used in that way. And I'm talking about certain ones here. If it were a Westminster Hall debate, we could probably talk for an hour and a half about the issues of traffic and shortcuts and what people are trying to do to get around roads that don't work effectively. So I've had reports of and complaints of litter on both these roads. I've had them on the A420, but it's fair to say I get many more about the A34. That litter itself is a safety issue, and people are dropping all sorts. Cars, lorries, road workers are dropping plastic bags, plastic bottles, tyres, and a whole range of other things which are unsightly for constituents, unsafe for constituents, and not good for the environment either. And when it comes to litter, there are a couple of odd situations that in my judgment, need to be remedied. One is that you have one company responsible for mowing the verges along the A34 and another responsible for picking up the litter, which strikes me as pretty inefficient. You also have the situation that Highways England, understandably, won't allow the A34 to be closed during the day because of how much traffic goes along it. And that means that you're faced with trying to do the litter picking at night, which of course is much more difficult. So the question on littering, which I posed to the Minister, but which a number of constituents posed to me, is why can't Highways England be responsible for clearing the litter on the A34? It has a number of other responsibilities to do with highways, and it would make sense, given that this is a growing problem that is a regular cause of complaint from my constituents, for Highways England to be responsible for this, given it's making it difficult to clear it another way. In conclusion, Madam Deputy Speaker, these two roads present huge challenges for my constituents. Problems of noise and tremors from HGV lorries making their houses vibrate, the littering problems that I've described, but more than anything, safety issues. They are crash after crash, near miss after near miss. And I think everybody in the House should agree that it's one thing to avoid a road because you think there might be traffic on it and you fear you'll be delayed. It's an entirely different thing to avoid a road because you think there'll be accidents on it and you fear you might be injured. And in both these roads cases, my constituents have dealt with that fear for far too long.
Minister Rachel Maclean.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I congratulate my honourable friend, the member for Wantage, on securing this important debate to raise the critical issues of safety and litter on what I understand are two of the key roads in his constituency, the A34 and the A420. Before I continue with my remarks, I must touch on the point that he mentioned about Grove Station. And I can assure him that the Department for Transport has received his bid. We were delighted to receive it and we expect to announce the results very soon. My honourable friend has done an excellent job of outlining to the House his constituents' concern about the A420, which he's noted is known locally as the road to hell. Surely this is not a situation that any of us would wish upon our constituents, and I well understand those concerns that he's described. He's described his mission and his vision for the A420 to once again be a local road, and he's helpfully outlined a number of detailed improvements that we can look to make. I would urge him to work very closely with Oxfordshire County Council, specifically on the funding issue, which I will turn to in my remarks. He came on to talk about the A34 and he emphasised that the figures that have been provided by the department don't always tell the true story because, of course, they don't always incorporate the damage to vehicles as well. My honourable friend for Newbury has highlighted a tragic death of her constituent, and I understand that there have been other deaths as well. And again, this is a matter of great concern. She highlights that she wishes us to look again at the issue of safety on this road, and I'm very happy to let her know that my noble friend in the other place, Baroness Fear, I'm sure will be delighted to meet with her. And the honourable gentleman from Reading East has again added his voice as another constituency MP who has experienced concerns of this road and highlighted again the priority of safety for his constituents. So I need to remind the House that the A34 forms part of the strategic road network managed by Highways England, and the A420, on the other hand, is a local road managed by Oxfordshire County Council. Our strategic road network is among the safest road networks in the world. The government's second road investment strategy, published in March, set out how we will invest £27.4 billion on England's strategic road network to ensure it continues to provide the safe and reliable connectivity that the country needs. This includes funding proactive maintenance and ring-fence funding for specific priority issues, such as addressing safety and congestion. However, we have heard specific concerns raised by honourable friends and an honourable member, and we are investing in two specific projects for the A34, including safety improvements to which my honourable friend refers. The safety of the wider road network is of equal importance. For local roads, such as the A420, safety is the responsibility of the relevant local authority. And I would highlight to my honourable friend that as a government we provide support, financial support to local authorities to meet this and other related responsibilities. For Oxfordshire, the highway maintenance funding allocation from the department is over £27 million for the financial year 2020 to 21. And additionally, in the same year, Oxfordshire has been allocated over £3.6 million through the integrated transport block for capital investment in small transport improvement projects, which can be for road safety. he has highlighted some issues on the 420. I understand that this is the responsibility of Oxfordshire County Council, and I would encourage him to engage further with the council and also, as I've mentioned, with my noble friend in the other place on this specific issue if he's not satisfied. Turning now to litter, I recognise fully the unpleasant impacts of roadside litter, and we as a government are committed to continuing to target the issue of litter on our road network, combining prevention with cure in order to make our roads clean and safe places to work and travel. Each individual local highway authority is responsible for clearing litter on the roads for which they are responsible, and in the case of the strategic road networks such as the A34 in my honourable friend's constituency, the responsibility falls to the local district council. But as it is elsewhere, Highways England does recognise its responsibility, and it works in partnership with local authorities to reduce littering on the A34, for example, giving them access during planned roadworks. In this way, nearly half a tonne of litter and other debris was collected on 21st of September alone, an astonishing figure, I'm sure you will agree. I will now turn to the specific work underway intended to improve safety on the A34. My honourable friend referred to those proposed safety improvements for the A34, and I can confirm that Highways England has been carrying out a £12.1 million programme of safety improvements on the A34, and I am pleased to say that most of these are now complete. But the Secretary of State has also asked Highways England to commence a new project focusing on the A34 between the M4 and the M40 that will consider options for interventions that could alleviate existing congestion now and in the future, as well as to improve safety for road users. And I understand that Highways England has already arranged a meeting with my honourable friend to hear his views as on the road as part of the project. If this is not the case, I would be delighted to work with him to assist in facilitating that meeting to take place. So I do, of course, encourage him to take the opportunity to work closely with them on its development. And I will conclude my remarks just by thanking members of the House, including my honourable friend also sitting on the front bench with me, who's also affected by this particular road in his constituency as well of West Oxfordshire. I believe I've got that correct. I know this is a road that touches many members' constituency and gives rise to many concerns to members of the House and local communities. So I thank him very much for securing this debate and raising these very important issues.